You are live with the App Show. Mike Egerbo here with John Beeler. We talk all about apps and mobile devices here on this program, and there's a lot to talk about, of course. On today's show, we will be talking about an interesting Washington Post story about Apple suing a Canadian recycler who, instead of shredding the Apple devices as they were contracted to mine all the parts and pieces out of them, they resold them. We'll get into that. It's pretty interesting. And also, we'll be talking about apps for creating 3D models. If you've been thinking about getting into 3D printing, and these printers now are only a couple $100, John here, who is one of Canada's preeminent 3D printing experts, will be talking about a couple apps he uses and how simple it is to actually start creating your own 3D models that you can print. Imagine printing out missing parts for your dishwasher or a missing cap for or one of your cameras. It's so fantastic what you can do. Let's get into some of the news, though. Some interesting stuff here. This is for the folks listening at CJOB in Winnipeg. You probably already know this. The COVID Alert app is now active in Manitoba. That brings it in line with several other provinces here, including Newfoundland and Labrador, and also Saskatchewan and New Brunswick. Of course,
I'm feeling like BC's being like we're being Ubered again.
Oh my God! Like by the time that they let this thing work in BC and Alberta, for that matter, the pandemic will be over.
Yes,
it's just ridiculous. Like, why wouldn't they get on board with this and put some resources behind it?
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway. This is the app that the Canadian government's recommending. It's the one that uses the technology that Apple and Google have standardized in all of their phones, and will basically alert users if you have been in contact with anyone that has COVID and has reported it.
And it does not track your location.
No.
It does not track your personal information. It doesn't track anything. It's just to let you know that you've been in proximity with somebody else. That's it.
That's it. Let's talk about the Apple Store now, John.
Yeah.
You've recently had a good Apple Store experience. Usually I have pretty good ones. I love the fact that I can bring any of my Apple gear in there and it's serviced there.
Yes. So one of the things, I have a 4-year-old MacBook Pro.
That's old.
2016.
2016.
Yeah, it was the first one with the touch bar.
Wow.
And when I upgraded to the beta of Big Sur, one of the new features that it has that will be available soon is the battery indication. Gives you a lot more information when you're looking at the battery notifier on your little menu bar. And one of the things that stood out when I installed this was that I have my battery service recommended warning. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And because I'd never seen that before in previous versions. And like I said, it's a 4-year-old laptop. I looked into it, and Apple sort of rates their laptops. You know, you should have about 1,000 charge cycles. That's completely draining and then recharging for the life of that battery. I only had 373, and I was around 70% charge capacity on my battery.
Okay.
So quite diminished for the short amount of time that the battery's been cycled. And Apple's also sort of been pretty good fairly recently with taking care of people that have these kinds of issues. So I thought, well, the best thing to do is, and this is what I always tell people when they have an Apple product problem, is go to the Apple Store. They will look at the particular problem that you're having, and the worst case scenario is if you have to pay for it, they'll at least give you a quote before you actually have to commit to it. If you go to a third party, sometimes they're actually going to charge you just to look at it. So if you have an Apple product, just take it to Apple. They'll take a look at it for free.
Yeah.
And tell you what's wrong with it. And then you can decide yourself, you know, is this something you can do yourself? Like, can you buy the part on Amazon and do it yourself? Which I couldn't actually do with mine. What I found out is that the Touch Bar Max, the keyboard, speakers, USB, and trackpad are all part of one unit, in addition to the battery, which is also attached.
Oh my God. Okay.
So basically the whole...
So you're not replacing that yourself?
No. I mean, in the old days, you could just buy a new battery and slot it in. And then they started doing these sort of sealed bottoms where the battery pack was changeable, but now it's just like one big unit. And also because of the age of my MacBook, the keyboard had some intermittent problems. And it's apparently famous for that butterfly keyboard that everyone hated. I actually didn't mind it, but I didn't have that many problems with it. But I mentioned it to the
What kind of problems would people have?
basically sticky keys.
Okay.
So part of it could have been because food got underneath the key.
Yeah.
And so when you're pressing it, it's not actually depressing all the way. Other times it was just literally a malfunctioning connection. So the nice thing is Apple will service any MacBook device with this particular keyboard for up to 4 years.
Oh, you came in right on time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I bought mine in December. So I had like a couple of months left. And it turns out because the whole part is unified, they replaced everything for free.
You can't beat that.
Well, they gave me an invoice breaking down what the cost was.
Yeah. How much?
It was $560, including labor, and the actual bottom half of the laptop was about $450.
Wow. But you got it free.
Completely free. And I took it in on Friday and I picked it up yesterday. So a couple days that was the turnaround time.
That's amazing.
Because they had the parts in stock in my store. So they'd actually did it in house.
Yeah. I had a malfunctioning AirPod Pro. One of the earbuds just started crackling. And so I took it in and they replaced it.
Did they just give you a swap or?
Yeah. They just swapped the one AirPod.
Just the one?
Just the one.
Right. So you got a new one and an old one now.
Yeah, I got a brand new shiny one in one ear and kind of one gunky one in the other ear.
But I mean, I guess the moral of the story is when in doubt, just take it to Apple. If you're not near an Apple store, you can still use their service. They will send you a box to ship it properly to them, and then they'll email you a quote if you do have to pay for it if it's not covered. But the nice thing is, I was expecting to have to pay for a battery.
Yeah.
But they were able to cover it all under some of these, not a formal recall, but some of these sort of issues and I've always found that even if there is a cost associated, sometimes Apple will just fix it just to make you a happy customer.
So dinner's on you.
Okay.
Well, all that money you saved.
That's right.
I want to talk quickly about a new app coming out for Google Android phones. This is going to be featured on the new Google Pixel 5 and 4a phones coming out. A preview feature, they call it anyway. It's called Hold For Me. So, when you phone those 1-800 numbers, for service,
yes,
like through your cell phone carrier or your cable provider, and you're just sitting on hold forever.
For hours.
And you're scared to leave, right?
Well, because the second you leave, you've lost your spot.
Well, this new feature will actually monitor it for you. So now you can just go about doing your daily business, getting on with life. And when a real human comes on the line, it'll notify you. It'll buzz you or whatever kind of notification you send up.
Does it talk to the person that answered the phone?
Yes, it tells them to hold. That is the ultimate. I love that.
Wasn't that a Seinfeld episode?
Probably. Can you imagine Seinfeld now?
Yeah.
Just the material he would have.
That's right.
His head would explode.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have to take a break here on the app show, but we got a lot more to talk about. We'll be talking about Apple and refurbished and recycled phones. What happens and what can go wrong? There's actually a lawsuit happening here in Canada. We'll be talking about Microsoft 365, formerly known as Office 365, as part of our subscription series. We'll give you the lowdown on what that's all about, the different subscription levels, what you should get and what you shouldn't. And 3D modeling. John is going to be going through some of the apps he uses to create his own 3D models that he prints on 3D printers. It's really actually kind of cool. You're listening to the App Show here on the Chorus Radio Network. Back after this. You're back with the App Show. Mike and John here. Interesting story that we want to follow right now. Great article in the Washington Post, basically saying Apple says it never recycles old devices if they can be still used. Its lawsuit against a Canadian recycler suggests otherwise. Apple actually has a trade-in program that you can basically take your old Apple gear to them and they'll give you, X number of dollars, depending on what condition the device is, how old it is, and then you can get that credit to buy.
I did that last year with the iPhone.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Where do those old iPhones go? So Apple says, if they're still in good condition and safe, they kind of give them a bit of a refurbish and then they resell them. And for the ones that don't, they basically shred them. They send them to recyclers that basically take all of the components apart, and then they're recycled or reused. So everything from the aluminum to the plastics to the gold that's on a lot of the circuit
They've
boards.
made a big point about this in previous Apple keynotes, where they show the robots that are disassembling these things.
Yeah, what did they call them? Daisy and Dave, or something like that. They have these two robots that can take apart an iPhone in a couple hours, or no, 200 iPhones.
Yeah, like it's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So Apple right now is suing a Canadian recycling company called Geep, Geep, saying it violated its contract by reselling the devices instead of shredding them. Apple's seeking 30 million Canadian. So they're alleged that this company basically, instead of shredding them, kind of destroying them and getting all the parts and the materials, this company allegedly resold 100,000 Apple devices that they could detect.
We should clarify, some employees at this company are the ones that were responsible for it. At least that's what the company is claiming.
And so these are the ones that Apple could detect on their network that were connected. It doesn't say about the ones that they couldn't.
Right.
So there could be a lot more.
Well, it's interesting though, because when you think about what's inside a smartphone, and what could go wrong for you to want to trade it in and or end up in the recycling bin for whatever reason, a third party could refurbish it with non-Apple parts.
Yes.
So that could be part of the reason why some of these devices are popping up on the network when Apple thought they were going to the iPhone
to be shredded.
Yeah.
iPhone heaven.
Yeah.
And they say Apple says they refurbished 10 million devices last year.
Yeah.
So they are doing it.
Yeah. But sometimes, and we encountered this when we went to China, Apple will charge a certain amount to fix something. But if you go to Shenzhen, you can get your phone fixed there for a lot cheaper. Maybe not with official parts.
No.
Right?
They say they're official. Like I got one of my iPhones. It had the glass front and back. I'd shattered both of them. Quoted here $1,100 to fix them. I got it done there for $150.
Yeah.
Which was a better deal.
Much better deal. But was it original equipment manufacturer parts?
They said that, but I have no way of verifying that.
Right. And I mean, the phone works.
It worked.
Yeah.
I was happy saving the, close to $1,000.
Yes.
Because that's like a new iPhone. It literally is.
Yeah.
So, but this story from the Washington Post basically is saying that Apple's not really coming through on what they promise.
Well, it'd be interesting to know, and I guess that'll come out in the lawsuit. At what point does Apple sign off? Okay, this one's a write-off. It goes to that pile.
Yeah.
Versus this company making the decision if it's all write-offs or these are fixable, these aren't. Who's making the call?
Or these rogue employees,
right?
That the company is saying
skimming them.
Yeah,
but that's a lot of skimming.
It's 100,000.
Yeah,
like that is a lot of devices.
Yeah,
getting into the market, and the question is, does Apple want all those devices in the market?
Well, I think Apple's concern is that these devices might not have been might not have been refurbished to their standard, and or with the appropriate original parts, which could come back to haunt them in the future when whoever buys that refurbished from a third party comes into an Apple store to try to get fixed if there's another problem.
I guess my argument is they probably don't mind having all these devices out there, right? Because I imagine a lot of these people want something cheaper, right? And if they couldn't buy this cheaper refurbished one, they might end up on the Android platform. So as we know, Apple makes billions of dollars on their services now, like iCloud and Apple Music. So I mean, once you're in that ecosystem, you're paying, anywhere from $5 to $30 or more a month for all the Apple services.
Yeah.
So Apple's not losing money, but I can kind of see their point.
Yeah. Well, just from a support standpoint.
Yeah.
It's become an unsupported product, basically, right? So,
what do you think?
Well, I mean, it sounds like there's something egregious has been happening here with this company.
Yeah.
But
the Washington Post is alleging that Apple's not coming through on their promise.
Well, I think what's probably happening is their contractors are letting them down.
Yeah.
So and this particular company is who Apple is going after, who in turn is blaming these rogue employees.
I wonder where these were sold, if they're in Canada or...
One article I read said a lot of it was going to China.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if they were being refurbished in Canada and then being sent, or being sent to China for refurbishment and then...
Oh, probably China, because as we know, it's so much cheaper there.
Yeah. And they have access to the parts where it's much harder to get in Canada.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting story. We'll be following this and keeping you folks up to date on it. We're going to have to take another break here. When we come back, still a lot more to talk about here on the App Show, including our subscription series with Ted Kritsonis. This week, we'll be talking about Microsoft 365, which used to be called Office 365. It's a monthly subscription for all your favorite Microsoft products, Word, Excel, OneDrive. Well, we'll tell you what the best deal is and why you should get it, or maybe why you shouldn't. You're listening to the App Show here on the Chorus Radio Network. Back after this. You're back with the App Show. Mike and John here. Well, we're continuing our subscription series. Everything's subscription now. And so we've been covering a lot of it, from YouTube to Spotify to Apple. This week, Office 365. Remember in the old days, you can just buy Office 365 and you didn't have to pay for the rest of your life?
Yeah, or you downloaded it.
Air quotes, yes. Well, things have gone legal now, John.
Yes.
Yes. We've got Ted Kritsonis on the line. He's our subscription expert. Thanks for joining us, Ted.
Good to be with you guys.
Office 365, I think a lot of people are probably familiar with it. We just wanted to talk today about some of the different options, just so people are a little more familiar. Maybe they're not on the right plan. Where do we start, Ted?
Well, so Microsoft actually renamed it Microsoft 365. So even though the suite can still be called Office, the actual service is called Microsoft 365. So just to avoid any confusion there that some people might have when they're looking for this, but they did rename it. I can't remember when they did, but it was recent. In any case, so basically what this is like, if you remember, for so many years, we would buy Microsoft Office as a package, software package, one-time fee, and that's it. You're basically you're paying one time for the license to use it. But a few years ago, they started to go subscription only, although not entirely. We'll get to that in a second. And so now they want you to pay monthly for it. So that is for like Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, and OneNote. So those are the apps that you get when you're subscribing. You get a couple more if you're a PC user over, as opposed to a Mac one. But that's the general gist. You're paying monthly. You're using these apps. They get updated. You get all the updates, and you can just keep using it, including in the cloud too, which is a big, big reason why they made this move.
I didn't know they changed it from Office 365. I've just been spouting that out all over the place, so I'm wrong.
But Microsoft has a habit of naming things weirdly and confusing. We were talking the other day about the Xbox One, Xbox X, and all those naming conventions. The marketing geniuses there.
Okay, so Microsoft 365, monthly subscription, or you pay like an annual fee for it.
That's right. Yeah.
Like where would someone start there? Like there's different levels.
So people watching this or listening to this might wonder, well, hold on. Are you saying that I only have to subscribe? Like I can't get it any other way? I can't just pay one time? You can. There is Office Home and Business 2019 available as a one-time cost. It's about $319. So it gives you a license to use the software. However, there is one thing: you don't get OneNote when you do that. So you're not getting the fifth app in the suite, unfortunately. And it's also meant for offline use, right? So all the cloud-based stuff that is part of the benefit of going with the subscription service does not apply to that one-time thing. There is Office Home and Student as well. Same kind of idea, one-time fee. It's $169. But again, you're limited in how much of the suite that you get. And not to mention that Microsoft support is limited to 60 days. So if you need tech support beyond that.
What about updates for those offline editions? Quite often you'll come across a friend that is like, oh, I've got, Word 2013 or something crazy like that, and it's not compatible with something they're trying to do. If you buy an offline one, do they actually say what their terms are as far as you can expect support for X amount of time?
That's a very good question, and there's not a straight answer that I've seen as far as how long. Like security updates, yeah, those will go for an extended period of time. But when it comes to like feature updates that add new features to the software, that's where things are a little bit murkier. So I don't know for how long these standalone products would last. I assume that they would go up until perhaps they come out with another one that's a one-time thing like this is. But again, this is a very different scenario compared to going with the Microsoft 365 subscription service where none of that applies.
Yeah.
If there's a new version, if there's whatever updates, you get them no matter what, as long as you're a subscriber.
Okay, so you can buy the whole package for about $320, you said, but I guess obviously what Microsoft's trying to do is trying to cram as much value into doing the monthly or the yearly subscription. So what are the advantages there?
Okay, so if you are a subscriber, like for example, okay, let's start with the family plan. Okay, so family plan costs $109 for the year, or you pay $11 per month. So you save a little bit of money if you go on the annual plan. Now it gives up to 6 people access to the full suite. So it's not just you. You can actually share this with other people, which is kind of cool. If you if you divvy it up and multiple people are paying for it, it then kind of adds to the value. Of course, Microsoft doesn't actually say that; they just refer to it as a family plan. But I have not seen anything to stop friends from sharing this. So you also get 1 terabyte of storage on OneDrive, which is Microsoft's cloud storage service. The other option is to go with a personal plan. So the personal plan is for one user only. You pay $79 for the year or $8 a month for that. And it offers the same level of access, same 1 terabyte of storage as well. So those are the two main plans basically that apply to when it comes to Microsoft 365, subscribing to that. There are some things that Microsoft will throw in to sweeten the deal. So, for example, again, this depends on how relevant this is to every user, but like Skype, for example, if you use Skype, they'll give you 60 minutes of calling. Of like you can call mobile or landline numbers. You get 60 minutes free. You can also encrypt files on OneDrive. So if you want to upload stuff to OneDrive, you can actually encrypt them. To add a little bit extra security, which is kind of cool, especially if you're dealing with stuff that's a little sensitive. So, and then of course, with all the updates, you get them all as soon as they come out. You can even set up that you're notified when they come out, so that they can update, or they can even automatically update for you. So all those things, are in there. And of course, you can use the suite either on a PC or a Mac, and I've even seen it on a Chromebook as well. So you can use it on those devices. And of course, there are apps on Android and iOS too. So you have access to everything basically, and especially with the family plan, everybody has access, and it can be mixed usage. They can be on mixed devices.
That's another question I have, Ted. So the family plan's how much again?
So the family plan is $109 a year or $11 a month.
Okay. So in the family plan, you get 6 users, correct? Yep. What about devices? Like I've got like probably 2 or 3 different laptops. I got my kitchen computer. I got an iPad. How many different devices am I allowed to load that onto?
Okay, so the family plan limits you to 5 devices per user. Okay. Now they could be a mixture. They could be a mix of devices, but on personal, it's got to be one of each. So, for example, if you were a personal subscriber, you can get 1 computer, like 1 phone, 1 like 1 tablet. It kind of limits you in that regard, whereas the family plan is a lot more fluid in how many devices you can actually have. And I mean, 5 per person. So really, if you have 6 people using this thing, we're talking about 30 different devices ultimately that would be logging in.
It's not a bad value when you think about it. Like $11 a month between 6 people in your family, and you can use it on 5 different devices. And the OneDrive, I use that all the time, and I can't tell you how much easier it's made my life. Like if I'm working on like a Word document on my laptop, I don't have to worry about saving it. And then if I start it on another device, like my work computer, it's all there. It just knows. Like I can just continue working on that without having to bring a thumb drive along with the document on it.
There's another element to that I think is relevant, and that's the collaborative side of things. So if you were collaborating on a document with someone else, that's where the cloud-based part of it comes in. So you would be able to, for example, you could work on it in a web browser, and then someone else could actually work on the document in real time on a browser, or even on the app, like the desktop app on their computer as well. So there's that element too. That's one of the reasons why Microsoft says they went in this direction, was because it made it easier to do things in a collaborative way, which I guess people were looking for. But I don't know that everybody knows that that's actually possible, that you can, like you said, start a document here and then work on it there, or have two people or more actually contribute and collaborate on the same document at the same time, which of course with Excel especially is very common.
Do those other users have to have the same 365 plan as well? Or if I didn't have a plan and Mike shared a document with me, would I be able to collaborate with them without having to log in, for example?
Yeah, so it's kind of like Google Docs in that way, where you can invite someone to view and edit, but they would have to do, in that case, they would have to do it in the browser.
Right.
So they don't need to download the app necessarily, right? Nor do they have to be a subscriber to also collaborate on that one particular document. But that same person who is editing or contributing to it wouldn't be able to start their own document. You understand? So yeah, you can share that way, but the other user would have to be a subscriber if they wanted to start their own documents and have all the perks of how that works.
We're talking with Ted Kritsonis all about the Microsoft 365 subscription package, about anywhere from $8 to $11 a month. If you want to know more about it, Ted has done a great series up on our website, getconnectedmedia.com. Got more details up there, including about what we talked about today. Ted, thanks so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
When we come back from the break, more apps to talk about. Stay tuned. You're back with the App Show. Mike and John here. Want to get into something kind of cool. John, you are a 3D printing expert, one of the premier 3D printer people in North America. You were listed in Forbes magazine.
I was.
You're pretty famous. But to do 3D modeling, you either have to download the models off the internet if you want to 3D print little gadgets and gizmos and gadgets, or you have to design them yourself. And we're going to talk about apps today that help you do that.
Yeah, this is a question that comes up a lot. People want to get into 3D printing, but they want to be able to make their own things. And what are your options? So the easiest, most fun thing that I can recommend is to go to tinkercad.com. It's a free service and it's entirely in your browser. So this is great for kids that only have a Chromebook, for example, and you can't install any software. It works great in Chrome, works great in Safari, even works on your phone. But the nice thing behind it is it's a very simple 3D modeling tool. They have great tutorials. So you basically follow along a video tutorial within the actual environment, and you basically replicate what they're doing on the screen. And it's a really great way to learn how the tools work. Basic concepts behind 3D modeling and shapes and interacting with them using a mouse or a touchpad or whatever your interface is. And then you can export them into a 3D printable file that you can then throw onto a 3D printer. And it's pretty good for, I would say I use it probably 90% of the time for the stuff I want to change.
But what kind of knowledge level do you have to have? Like, what's the learning curve on this?
It's like Lego.
Okay.
Like
even I could do it.
You could do it. It's actually meant for kids to learn. And when I used to teach kids 3D modeling, we would do Tinkercad, because the other nice thing is you can actually then start with someone else's design and you can share it with your classmates, and then you can iterate on it and work on it.
And so then you would save this file, which would basically work on any 3D printer.
Yeah.
And how much are 3D printers now roughly for, an entry level?
So my favorite run right now is still the Ender 3 by Creality. You can get these on Amazon. They actually just had a lightning sale the other day for like $250. Regular price about $300.
$250 and you got a 3D printer.
Yeah, and it's a good one. Like I have two of them in my house. Actually, well, I have I have more than two, but
Of course.
but I have two of these Ender 3s, and they're fantastic. And they've been out for a couple of years, but what's really great about them is there's a huge community of people that have them. So they're able to create mods for them. If you have any problems with them, there's huge Facebook communities, Discord groups, all these different places wherever you want to interact with people about it and get help and tips on how to run it and how to make it better. When you're ready to go sort of beyond Tinkercad, though, probably the best option for a hobbyist or a student is Autodesk's Fusion 360. And this is something you download. You can get a free license as long as you're not using it for commercial purposes. And it's a traditional CAD tool, and it's got a pretty steep learning curve. But again, there's tons and tons of great video tutorials on YouTube about it. So you have lots of resources to learn how to do things. People will walk you through creating some simple shapes that you can then iterate, and then you can export that as something you can actually 3D print.
And what kind of things have you 3D printed that are useful?
Oh, geez.
Besides Star Wars figures.
Well, yeah.
Well, you printed the holder for my electric charging cable.
Yeah. I've done a bunch of things like that for you and I with our electric vehicles. Just little holsters for them, if you will, in our garages. I've done. I actually got into 3D printing at the beginning because I wanted to 3D print camera mounts.
Yeah.
So I've printed all kinds of camera mounts for things like GoPros. I printed a rig for us to use with the Osmo Pocket that we have. Pretty much any kind of camera gear, there'll be something you can download. Somebody else has already got or designed. Or, what I used to do before I actually started mashing up things. So I wanted to take a GoPro and I wanted to put it on a tripod mount on top of a 2-liter bottle. So I could actually put it and have it stay steady at that right height.
Yeah.
So I took a bottle cap model and I took a GoPro model and I merged them and then I 3D printed. I did this all in Tinkercad.
And it worked.
And it totally worked. Yeah.
And you even printed a little cap for me for my daughter's punching bag. It has that base where you fill up with sand or water.
Yes.
It was missing the cap, and you did it.
Yeah, and the same thing, like you've got a door lock that was losing.
Oh yeah,
the cap on the back that you broke or whatever. And again, that's really kind of the cool thing about 3D printing is there's millions of models on the internet already that people have created to solve problems like that. But also, if you want to actually create art or create new camera mounts. It's literally infinite what you can do with it.
We're going to have to take another break. When we come back, we'll tell you how you can win our contest this week, a Roku Stream Bar. Back after this. You're back with the App Show. And again, special shout out to our new Toronto listeners on Toronto 640. We have great contests happening all the time for everyone here in Canada, giving away a Roku Stream Bar. This is a combination soundbar and smart TV device. It's an all-in-one unit, and it's nice because it's a smaller soundbar, so it fits on any TV in any room with just one HDMI cable, and it'll make your TV smart and give you good audio. So all you have to do to enter is visit our website, getconnectedmedia.com. If you hit the newsletter tab, enter there. All the instructions are there. And once you're entered, not only you entered to win this contest, but all the contests going forward. And you don't have to keep re-entering.
Yeah. Once you're subscribed, you're good.
Yes. So do it. Like, we're giving away thousands of dollars in prizes. All you have to do is subscribe to the newsletter, and you get some good stuff in that newsletter. All our audio and video podcasts, the latest tips and tricks, and product reviews as well.
We don't spam you.
We don't spam you. That's all the time we have left. I want to thank Christina and John for helping put the show together. We'll see you again next time.